Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. We're excited to be here. I'm Kathy Quackenbush. I coordinate the counseling department at Mamaroneck High School, and we have a lot of special people here tonight, um, and we'll introduce them shortly. Just wanted to share that tonight we have 10th graders and their parents here and 11th graders and their parents as well. And most importantly, we have college admissions officers from several different schools are here to tell you more about what their colleges are looking for in promising candidates, as well as good advice for you in planning your college search. They may dispel some myths about the process, as well as sharing some good information about what you can control in your college search and your college process. It can be, the college application process can feel overwhelming just when you think about it. Um, we are holding this evening, and we hold one every year to try to give you more information. Knowledge is power, right? Like the more you know, I think the more navigatable the whole process will seem. We're here with you. We go through this all the time. We're just finishing up with our seniors, and we're getting ready to start meeting our juniors and family meetings to start their college search and process. Application process. 10th graders, you are here because 11th graders will often tell us, I wish I knew this information just a little bit earlier. So for those of you who are joining us, this is really good information just to kind of sink in. Um, I hope your takeaway will be keep doing what you're doing, keep working hard in school and challenging yourself. Stay in touch with your counselors so we know how you're doing and we can help you on your journey. 11th graders, you're here because it's time. We just are wrapping up with our seniors. Most of them have applications out. Some have heard back already, and some actually know where they're going to be attending college. So a year from now, that might even be you. Um, so juniors, after the break, we're hoping that you and your guardians, your parents, will make an appointment to meet with us so we can all get on the same page and start working on your journey. No two journeys are the same at all, and you'll do well to try to remember that. And um, you know, there's a lot of talk about the college process, and a lot of it just raises anxiety. So do not feel that you have to disclose everything you're thinking and everything you're exploring at this time. We just think it's important that you as a family start to wrestle with what are we going to do? I'm going to get out there and visit some colleges. We have to plan that. We're going to show you how to research colleges. We're also going to show you how to start to create a list. So again, a year from now, juniors, you will probably have applications out there and even some decisions there. Um, Thank you for submitting questions for the finalists, parents. We should be able to cover most of your topics tonight. But for those of you who are wondering about IEPs and 504s and how they translate to college, we're going to have an entire evening program about that, February 23rd. That will also be a Zoom. We do that every year, and that will be very valuable. Everything that we say here tonight is also applies to you. Just because you may have accommodations or an IEP does not mean you have to go to certain colleges, right? Every college has students there with a different learning profile. So again, absorb the information you get tonight, and tuck that in the back of your mind for when you are really starting to research places. For those of you considering a gap year or attending college in another country, these are things that we work with individually with our students. And every year we have students who do both gap years or go into a trade as well. So nothing has to be decided tonight. Keep your mind open and absorb all the information we're going to share with you. Remember, your counselor is your best ally in this process. We're very experienced and we're very available to you. You know, we could see you 5 days of the week if you would like. So don't forget to keep in touch with us about, thoughts that you're having, questions that you're having as you start to think about college. We have several counselors here tonight. Mr. Cuddy's here, Miss Jenwright's here, Miss Hoshizumi's here, Mr. Barrera's here, Miss Lichtenstein is here, Miss Strawn will be monitoring the chat, and I believe Mr. Adams and Mr. Schwartz are also going to be on for some of the time that we're here. So without further ado, I want to introduce our esteemed college admissions counselor representatives. And are you kidding me? Sorry, I'm seeing a notification about this meeting ending in 10 minutes. If that is the case, I will be sending out a new Zoom link if they cut us off. I'm sorry. Let's hope that does not happen. Okay, in no particular order, I just want to share that Mr. Broccoli is here from SUNY Binghamton, Ms. Willard is here from Hobart and William Smith, Ms. Wax from Penn State, Ms. Bretz from the University of Pennsylvania, and Stephanie Gavin from Syracuse University. We appreciate you coming, and we hope now that you will one at a time introduce yourself. Tell us what's really cool about your school and what kind of student do you think makes a good match in your environment? Mr. Broccoli?
All right. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome in. I'm Craig Broccoli. I'm the Associate Director of Admissions for Binghamton University. So happy to see a lot of you tuning in tonight. I'm actually based here in Lower New York, in New York City for Binghamton these days. I did go to Binghamton undergrad and grad studies. Just for quick context, Binghamton, top public university in New York, part of SUNY, State University of New York. So we're about 3 hours away, upstate, mid-sized public, an R1 research university. So some defining characteristics that I would call a fun fact. For the last 3 years in a row, we got the top spot in the nation for sustainability research. We do a lot on this idea of discovering new knowledge. So generally speaking, the type of student who I think would thrive there are students who are academically curious. They like having options. They're very comfortable with a diverse array of students. We're a public in New York. That's what you're going to get. And they're really interested in this idea of blending a lot of ideas together, different majors, double major, major minor combos, plenty of choices, very much so in a residential setting. So everybody lives there. There's no commuting to Binghamton. So that's a quick little bit about Binghamton, and I'll pass it along.
Thank you very much. Who's next? How about Lori Wax from Penn State?
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to be here tonight and so appreciative of you tuning in. My name is Lori Wax. I am the Director of New York Recruitment for Penn State. Penn State is a large public research university with one very large main campus and 12 other campuses throughout the state of Pennsylvania. We offer 275 different majors, about 1,000 different student clubs and organizations. A student who would be a good fit at Penn State is a student who definitely takes their academics seriously and wants a wide range of different things that they can study, and also really wants to be engaged in the community, get involved, and really wants to be part of the community. It is a very spirited community. And a fun fact about Penn State is that we do have the largest alumni network in the world, the largest active alumni network. So as of this year, over 788,000 dues-paying members of local alumni chapters throughout the country and the world. And so it is really a community that you join for life.
Thank you so much. How about Sue Willard from Hobart and William Smith?
Thank you. It's funny, Lori, I actually bike with a Penn State alum and they wear a Penn State jersey. So, hi, everyone. Thank you for including me tonight. I represent Hobart and William Smith College. I did attend Hobart William Smith. We've had some fantastic Mamaroneck students who have been part of our community over the years. We are the small liberal arts school represented tonight. I think, we're a school that really focuses on having you drive your education. You don't know what you need to major in when you start here. It's all about mentorship here, and students that thrive here are the ones that want mentorship. They want to embrace the experience, be curious about what's out there, regardless of what you major or minor in. And you do have time to figure that out because our curriculum really is freedom with guidance. Is that we really focus on developing those transferable skills that you're going to need to explore in any industry. So it's the communication skills, it's the analytical thinking, it's the problem solving, it's the critical thinking, and that's woven into our curriculum. And we want students that are going to see how things are interconnected. And lastly, we have a really exciting new addition from a $70 million donation that we received last year for our Melley Institute, which is going to be focused on business innovation and finance, and really coupling the technical skills that you get in a business major with the liberal arts skills development that you'd receive. And students that thrive here really is, as many of us have said tonight, those that want to be part of a community, those that are curious about other people, those that want those mentorship and close relationships with your faculty. And you just want to be comfortable being uncomfortable and embrace the experience, and really dive deeply into your education and growing as a human being. I'll pass it over since Kathy's on the phone. How about Stephanie?
Thank you.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Happy to see everyone today. My name is Stephanie Gavin. I am an assistant director with Syracuse University's Office of Admission. A little bit about Syracuse. We're around 4.5 hour drive from Westchester, a mid-sized private university right smack in the middle of New York State. We have over 200 programs and 100 minors across our 10 different schools and colleges. We really focus on giving students that kind of experience that you would typically see at a larger institution. So we have 20 Division I athletic teams, a ton of school spirit. There is a lot going on. We have over 300 different clubs and organizations, but we have a 15-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So you get that small school feel. I always say a student that does really well at Syracuse is a student who likes to get involved in their community, stays active, really focuses on their coursework, but also really wants that connection to their peers and to the folks that they work with, since you do work in a smaller setting while getting that bigger opportunity in the area. All right, and I'll turn it over to Susanna.
Thanks, Stephanie. Good evening, everyone. My name is Susanna Bretz, she, her. I'm an associate director here at Penn, and it's my pleasure to join you this evening. I am the Westchester representative. I have been for a number of years, and so I'm really excited to get to join you and talk a little bit about Penn. We are a medium-sized Ivy League liberal arts and sciences research university located in Philadelphia, founded by Ben Franklin. So the students who are best fits for us are students who are excited kind of about the different parts of that statement, right? If you're looking for a medium-sized school, as a couple of us are, where you're probably not the smallest or the largest, where you get to know your peers but have access to a lot of resources, we're a good fit. I wouldn't focus too much on the Ivy League. It's a sports league officially, and so there's a lot more beyond that particular moniker. If you want to do research, we're a great place to do that. You could do so from your very first day on campus. All of our students study in the liberal arts. That's another key part of the Penn experience. Our students are not defined by just one thing. They're really passionate about exploring all their different areas of interest. You want to come to Philadelphia, it's a great place to call home. It's great food, art, history, culture, sports teams that'll give you a heart attack. But our students really get to be a part of that experience while they are at Penn. And then lastly, our founder, Ben Franklin, kind of ties into a lot of our ideals. He had a lot of different careers. I know you learn about him in history class and like a particular lens, but he's also an oceanographer and in the US Chess Hall of Fame. And so he kind of embodies what we want our students to identify with of, you're not just going to have one track in life. You're going to be able to go out and do a lot of different things. And we're so excited to support you along the way as you do so.
Now that we've done the introductions, let's go ahead and start asking our questions of the panel. Okay. Feel free to write in the chat if you're having any technical difficulties as well. Thanks so much. Okay, so the first question we have is, when you are looking at college applications from students, what are the most important factors to you in determining who will be accepted to your institute? Maybe use the top 5, top 4. in order of importance, I think that would be very interesting for us to hear. Craig, do you want to start?
Yeah, I can go ahead and start, and I think there's going to be some similarities between many of us, but
Yep.
the top one will always be the academic preparedness of a student relative to our current student body. We all have a good sense of our current student body, and that usually has to do a whole lot with your transcript from a Mamaroneck. That will be the first and foremost, the biggest thing that we'll probably pay attention to, your grades over time at Mamaroneck, and how that might fit in, of course, with, again, the students that we know we already have that are thriving. Um, a quick second to that, when available, optionally, I would say, would be test scores, right? That's a part of the academic review, and I would lump it up there. When it's there, it's part of that academic review. When it's not there, it's not there, but that's still a big, important part when it is used. Then, of course, we dive a little bit deeper into who that student is as a person, what they're doing, what their responsibilities are, and that comes in the shape and form of your college essay and your extracurricular list. And I would say just briefly followed by that, then, of course, somebody else telling us how you fit into a school community. That's your letter of recommendation. And that's coming from a counselor or a teacher or both sometimes. And that gives us another sense of the path you're on and how that may fit with our vision of where we think you can thrive. That's the whole key. We want you to do well on our campus. We're not just simply trying to admit you because your numbers look good. We want to make sure you actually fit in with the community we already have. Therefore, you can graduate in 4 years and be an amazing human in the future. So those three: transcripts, extracurriculars, essay, and then your letter of recommendation.
Great. Susanna, do you want to go next?
We're going to be very similar. We're a holistic institution, so nothing is actually any more important than anything else. But I will say the institution part is important, so your academics are going to be the backbone of our review. But there's nothing that's more important than anything else of the list that Craig gave.
Awesome. How about Sue Willard?
Sure. Echoing my two colleagues, the transcript is the most important piece of the puzzle in the sense of we want to make sure students that we offer admissions to are ones that are prepared to be successful at our school. And I think with that, looking at the transcript, how we look at it, it's looking for growth. It's looking for what you choose to take in relation to the type of institution we are. But I think we also look at the transcript to look for potential in students. Not every student has a smooth road through high school, and there's some bumps here or there. So the transcript is most important just because of academic preparedness, because we want students that can have the skill set to be successful. But then coupling with seeing potential, I think that goes to, what are you involved in? What do you really care to invest your time in? Because that gets to, what kind of community you want to join. Because each of my colleagues here, we're all trying to build a community. We're not trying to fill a class. And as Susanna said, there's not one thing in particular that's always going to outweigh everything. It's looking for potential. So what are you writing about in your essay and telling us about in your essay? What activities do you really value and invest your time in? And then obviously your letters of recommendation, because those teachers and counselors are with you on a daily basis, and their observations of who you are as a person, in addition to, how you've chosen to spend your time and invest your time academically and the growth that they've seen. I think that those are all very important to us in our review process.
Awesome. How about Stephanie from Syracuse?
Yeah, I would say pretty similar to my three colleagues that went before, but I also like to highlight, especially Sue made that point about courses that we're looking at. And I think it's something that for Syracuse, for our programs, we look at students, you're a direct admit. So we admit you directly to that program. Some of our programs that we look at will look for specific courses too. So when you're thinking of, when we think transcript and coursework, a lot of times the conversation goes towards honors courses or AP courses or opportunities to take courses at community colleges. But it's not just rigor of courses, but what classes are you taking? For example, if you're students who are interested in our Whitman School of Management, we require them to take pre-calculus. So making sure that you're taking those courses and pushing yourself That's really what we're looking to see, those necessary skills for those specific programs that you're interested in addition to also seeing how are you going to be a part of our community. We want our students to get involved. We want our students, many of our programs require research or internships. How are you going to balance that with the academic rigor of our courses? That's really what we're looking for when we see your extracurriculars and hear your letters of rec, how engaged you are in the classroom. Are you going to be comfortable raising your hand and having that conversation in a classroom discussion? That's what a lot of our classes are like. So we want to make sure that students who come to the university are able to comfortably be in those classroom settings.
Awesome. Great. And Lori Wax from Penn State.
So I like to be different than everybody else. Penn State has really moved away from a very holistic review. Our honors college does do a very holistic review. And in the case of an appeal of a decision, we would do a very holistic review. But our general admissions process very heavily weighs on a student's academic record, as is self-reported to us by the student. We do as a student the level of those classes, the grades they've received in those classes. So your grades are recalculated, or what you might think your GPA is might not be what we think our GPA, your GPA is. We do admit based on academic college. We have 275 majors divided into 12 different academic colleges. We like to fill all of our academic colleges, and some do tend to be more competitive than others, not because they're better or harder, simply because we do get lots of applications to some of the same things. So things that factor into an admissions decision at Penn State are your academic record. As Craig said, next in line would be your test scores. If you decide to submit them, we are test optional for everything except for our accelerated bachelor MD program. But other than that, we're really looking at your academic record in relation to the program that you're applying to.
Thank you so much. As we go through the next questions, you'll hear from some of the other counselors from our office. I think that we don't necessarily need every person to answer the questions, maybe a couple per question, but if you want to add something, by all means, unmute yourself and jump right in. How's that sound? Question: what is the best way to get to know if a college is a good fit for you?
I'll try to answer that. And I would push the language and say finding a college that you would thrive at. Anybody can find something that fits, but you want to thrive, you want to grow. And I think it's going to be different for everybody. One way to do that is go and visit a school. Knowing that not everybody will have the ability to go and visit schools before you're admitted, but go and visit a school, walk around, see what the other students are like, because you need to go to a place where you feel comfortable studying with those students. You need to feel comfortable hanging out in a residence hall with those students. I think another way to do that is, yes, I hate to say it, I'm not even really on it, but social media at times, knowing that it is a curated view of what that school is, but connect via social media. If you're not able to visit a campus, I think all of our campuses have the ability to connect with faculty or students, whether it's in a chat, whether it's in, whatever venue, connect with us. I mean, we are admissions officers. We're not rejection officers. Like, we want to admit students. We can't admit everyone. But I think there's ways to connect with students. I think, you can talk to friends and family members and classmates that have visited schools to see what they feel, but knowing that the vibe that they get from that school might not be the same vibe you do. So start early. I think starting your sophomore year, easing into it, is important. But I think that there's ways that from meeting with us when we go and visit Mamaroneck, to college fairs, try to interact with us. We enjoy talking to you. That's one of the greatest parts of our job is meeting with teenagers. So, and the last thing I'll say is that your college office is a huge resource. I've worked with this college office for almost 15 years now, and they are incredible professionals. So use them as resources. They know a lot of schools, and they have your best interest at heart. So definitely use the tools right in your backyard there.
I would be happy to jump in. I think a lot of the things that you want to think about or take a little bit of time to do some self-reflection and think about the things that are important to you, which is a great way to figure out if you're going to be a good fit at a school. And I agree with Sue, visiting is so important, but if you can't get to the exact school that you're planning to apply to, at least visit schools that you have access to. If you're away, or just schools that are in this area, just to get a sense of if you want big or small, or you feel better at a private or a public. I mean, there's so many different factors that are personal, and there's no right or wrong here. It's really what best fits you. Certainly, a good academic fit is something to think about, and many schools will publish middle 50% ranges, or you can, get a sense, speak to admissions counselors. We are all here. As Sue said, it is the best part of our job. We love to speak to students and help, answer questions that, certainly questions that you can't easily find on the website, find the answers to. But just think about the things that are important to you. And also one last thing, and Sue mentioned it, we all, particularly since COVID, have so many great virtual programs and ways to engage virtually. So you don't have to leave your house. You can join an information session. I know we have them with student, tour guides that come on and answer questions, so you can hear many different perspectives on those.
Thank you. Doesn't happen often, but I was muted against my will. Thank you. I'm here now. And I wanted to thank all of you for taking the time, especially even more so given how busy this time of year is. And Laura, you alluded to it a little bit in terms of attending virtual sessions. But if any number of you, or one or two, could explain demonstrated interest to our students, and how that fits into your admissions office and evaluations of applications. Thank you.
I can start it off. So Syracuse University, first of all, we are a school that does look at demonstrated interest. And really what we're looking to see is, are you connecting with our team? It can take a wide variety of forms. It can be a virtual visit. It can be visiting us on campus. It can be emailing us, connecting with us in those different platforms, calling and checking in and looking to learn more. Every school has their own different opportunities too, but really what we're just looking to see is, when a student applies, not only do we think that they're a good fit for our community, but do we know that they know they're a good fit for us? And the best way that we can really see that is by showing that you've connected with us in a couple different ways, so that we have a better sense that you have a strong understanding of what our campus community is like, and that you've really thought about fit specifically to our institution.
I think Stephanie did a great job explaining it, so the rest of us could just go down the line real quick and say yes or no. Does our school track demonstrated interest? Penn does not. So it doesn't matter how much you do anything, no impact on your application in the review process.
We can see demonstrated interest. It isn't an actual part of the metrics that we use to determine admissibility. But if there is a difference between two students that we're trying to figure out who to offer admittance to, if there is some demonstrated interest, even if it's like, we can see that you're interacting with us with emails or whatever it may be, it might factor in, but it's not the largest factor, because we know that access, isn't always easy for everyone. So sorry, long-winded answer, but it's not a huge part of it.
And I will say, for Binghamton, we do not use demonstrated interest for admissions purposes. The only time, though, just technically after admissions, if you're waitlisted and there's a spot on the wait list in the long run future, like in March of your senior year, that's a good time to reach out to the schools you're waitlisted at. Schools may use that. We will use that at a place like Binghamton. If we have a spot on the wait list, it's typically going to the students who have also reached out and demonstrated that interest at that stage in senior year.
And technically, we do not use demonstrated interest in making our admissions decisions. But I will say, we are human. It never can hurt to show your interest, even if it's just reaching out and me being able to, share some nuance about our application process that you might not otherwise know about. So it can never hurt, but it is not a factor that we use to determine whether or not we'll admit you.
Thank you all very much. And the next question, we're going to segue a little bit to the cost of attendance and financial matters. So, just if you could give a brief answer about cost of attendance at your school, and then aside from financial aid, any scholarships that may be you know, pretty easy to answer in terms of established ones and what may be required.
I'm happy to start and then play hot potato. So at Penn, we meet 100% of demonstrated need with grant-based aid. That means that Penn gives all of the financial aid a student will need to attend our institution, and we do it without loans. So our students, for the most part, will then graduate debt-free. As an Ivy League institution, we only do need-based aid. We don't do athletic scholarships. We don't do merit scholarships. You're welcome to bring those in from your own resources. Your counseling team's a wonderful source of information for local scholarships. I'll just pass it to Craig because he's next to me on the screen.
Thank you. And I love that answer from Penn because it's awesome when a school can do that. Binghamton, for a New York resident, probably most of you, if not all of you, it's for the year 30,000, room, board, tuition, everything. Very rare would there be a merit scholarship. Often that is tied towards some level of financial need. So that's based on the FAFSA information, which would be like financial aid that could lower that cost. Students who come through the EOP pathway, which some really good New Yorkers do every year, the full cost out of pocket is somewhere around like 4,000 for the year. This is a financial aid-based program, but for the majority of New Yorkers, I mean, it's going to be 30,000 for the year, room, board, tuition, everything. We'll go to a different state. We'll go to Pennsylvania.
So, well, I guess Susanna covered Penn. So Penn State, the bulk of the aid that we do give at Penn State is also based on need. There are not a lot of merit-based scholarship opportunities. We do have an honors college that does have a small merit-based scholarship. There are a few. I always encourage students to go onto the website because many of the ones we have, you do have to apply for. You're not automatically considered. There are a few, but really the bulk of the aid that we give is based on need. Some cost savings, we do have some students that start at some of our smaller campuses. There are some great cost savings that go along with that. But other than that, it's based on filling out the FAFSA.
I guess I'll kick it off again. Back to New York. We are a private school, so our cost of attendance, we don't guarantee to meet full need from students, but we do have a very robust merit scholarship program. Every student that's admitted is awarded a merit scholarship this year between $20,000 and $43,000 a year. We do have additional scholarships students can apply for in service, leadership, the arts, debate, innovation, and entrepreneurship. So there are ways to afford it. We have a very robust HEOP program. We've had students from Mamaroneck High School. So while we don't guarantee to meet full need, we do meet a considerable amount of need for the vast majority of our students to make HWS affordable as possible. And it's having those conversations. As a New York State school, obviously, we do have a good portion of our population that are Pell eligible students, students that are taking advantage of the New York State TAP Awards. So there's lots of ways, and 100% of our students receive some sort of financial assistance in order to be able to afford our institution, whether it's a combination of need and merit. And for domestic students, we only require the FAFSA. And last but not least, Stephanie, all the way down the thruway to Syracuse.
So Syracuse, we award both merit and need-based aid. All students who apply to the university are automatically considered for merit-based scholarships, so no additional application need to be filled out for those. For need-based aid, we do require the FAFSA and the CSS profile. We strive to meet full demonstrated need for students. I would say over 82% of our student body receives aid from the university in some way, shape, or form to help support them throughout their time at the institution.
Thank you, everyone. I want to just do a quick PSA about financial aid because our department has a financial aid advisor, Ms. Strawn. Every year we have a financial aid night. And if you haven't attended one and you're interested in finding out more, that will be in October. Watch Parent Square for those announcements. And we also have a student aid fund, a Mamaroneck Larchmont Student Aid Fund. So our our community actually is able to give pretty sizable merit scholarships to our students who show need. So this is something you'll hear much more about as you get into the application process. But we encourage you, even if you're in 10th grade right now, to attend the financial aid night next year in October to really get as much information as you can about affordability. Thanks.
Thanks, Kathy. So just Lori and Stephanie, you touched upon this a little bit, and it's a question that we get asked all often in our office. Is it better for when students are selecting courses, is it better for them to take the more rigorous course, even if their grades may not be as strong, if they were in the less rigorous course? How would you answer that for your school?
I can go first. So I would say for us, we're looking to see that rigor, of course, but I think also something that's important for students to know is that we're also looking to see, do you know yourself? What you're looking to balance your course schedule as. When you go off to college, you're gonna work with your academic advisor there and pick courses and build your schedule accordingly. And part of those conversations would be how many courses are you going to be able to do well in while balancing those other things that you're involved with. So I always bring that up now because if you're doing really well in some maybe Regents level courses, maybe you challenge yourself with honors, you don't have to take all APs your senior year or junior year to be a strong applicant to a university. It's more really knowing yourself and looking at the specific courses you're interested in. So if you're interested in biology, then we'd like to see you maybe challenge yourself in that subject area because that's what a lot of your courses are going to be when you go off to college. But looking to see, I always say it's always a healthy balance of are you going to be able to balance the rigor of courses while still being involved and having that strong GPA, since at the end of the day, that's what we're also really factoring into that decision.
I would say pretty much the same thing. I mean, you shouldn't be struggling. Certainly, we like to see you challenge yourself. And, you're going to start taking college level classes when you get to college. So the more prepared you are and the more, more rigorous classes that you take, the more prepared you will be. But you should definitely not be struggling. So maybe try a few. We don't happen to use senior grades in our evaluation. We do look at the classes you're taking senior year. So, but we're not looking at the grades per se. So, why not try it your senior year? But even beforehand, I mean, we certainly do, weight the harder classes. So if it's a couple of points, it's probably worth challenging yourself. But if you're really struggling, it's not worth it. Don't do that.
When you're choosing courses, when you're choosing courses as well, you're not in a specific major in high school. So I think all of us would like to see you really develop the breadth of knowledge in high school of being able to write well, even if you go into engineering or, if you're going to be an English student, still continue on with your math studies. So I'll echo what my colleague said, be appropriate to who you are as a student and to challenge yourself in appropriate ways. If you are applying to a specific major within a college, then yes, they'll probably look at those courses, a little more closely than some of your others, but we all like to enroll well-rounded students intellectually.
Susanna, I'm curious to hear how you would answer that question as well.
Sure. Craig, you unmuted. Was there something you wanted to say first, please? Feel free.
No,
We had a question in the chat, so I think we were both inclined
Yeah,
towards.
yeah. So you go ahead.
No, Craig and I have served on many panels together, so I think he actually has a really good answer to this question. But Craig, do you want to go?
Yeah, I'll
add?
start for sure. I think this question is important, and I see where we want there to be a right answer. And to be fair, colleges, we don't even have a right answer to give you. I think what's important for you as a student and parents and counselors, we're all on the same page here, I hope, is you as a student are trying to progress incrementally each year. And adequately challenge yourself so you're ready for college, not just to get admitted to college, to be ready for it. And what we're dialing into is if you are taking a higher level of challenge, we are dialing are you now actually going to succeed with that level of challenge? If we start to see a downward trend, it doesn't necessarily mean the world's over, it's the end of the world, but it's how you respond to that, right? Here's the key. When you're looking at colleges, and you can ask any one of us on your list of schools you're applying to, like, who's your typical student? We'll be honest with you. If we say the majority of our students have A averages and they take the highest level of challenge at their high school, great. If that's not you as a student, that doesn't mean you have to make yourself that. There is going to be great colleges out there that might fit your academic trajectory. That's the point, right? Not to make yourself an applicant to a school that's not really your style yet. Like, this whole idea of growth is important. But when Mamaroneck is great because you don't have a weighted GPA there. So I don't think there's like this mathematical game that you all have to play about, let me take more so I get a higher GPA. You have a clean slate, incrementally take your challenge appropriately, meaning listen to your counselors, listen to the teachers. If they say, hey, you've getting 95s in English, you're ready for the next level, great. But at that next level, we're expecting you to still be in the 90s, right? We're not expecting you to go the other way at that point. That would be the appropriate level of challenge.
And to like point blank address the question of, is it better to get a B in an AP course than an A in a regular course? I'm going to tell you it's best to get an A in an AP course because, again, going to what all my colleagues said of you're trying to challenge yourself. But I want to be clear, you don't have to be a straight A student to be admitted to Penn or peer institutions like ours. And the follow-up question to that is usually, well, how many APs should I take? So the benefit of myself and my colleagues here of being territory managers is that I know you can't take AP classes till junior year. It's the first thing I tell anyone who looks at a transcript with me, that this is how this high school functions. So you will never see them in a freshman or a sophomore course list. So we're not comparing you to any other institutions or anything like that, any other high schools or anything like that. And that ties into the grade thing, right? Because there are some classes at Mamaroneck where it's just more common to see a B in that class because it's a class that more students struggle with. So it really all depends like on circumstance. But if you want the black and white answer, which admissions officers really struggle to give because everything's dependent on a circumstance, A in the AP is going to be the black and white answer there.
Thank you so much. Those responses were awesome and very helpful. So my next question would be, what advice would you give to an athlete hoping to play a particular sport at your institution?
I can kick that one off. I was the college soccer coach for 11 years at D1 and D3, so have a little bit of background in this. I think first and foremost, being a college athlete is a privilege, so not everyone is going to be a college athlete. The most important thing is sports should not be the thing that is driving your college search. You need to find a school where you're the fit first. Because while most people aren't college athletes, most people also won't go on to be professional athletes. So your education and growth as just a human being is really important. So when you're looking for what type, well, first of all, what level should I be playing at? Division I, Division II, Division III. You have some extraordinarily strong Division III programs that will compete with middle of the road Division I programs. So talk to your coaches, talk to teammates that are at the college level, see what these different programs are like. Okay. You need to take a good time to self-reflect and say, what kind of role do you want to play on whatever team it is you join? Are you okay to develop for a couple of years, or do you want to come in and make an immediate impact? Division I's fantastic. It's not for everybody. Division III is not fantastic for everybody. But I think it's start that process your sophomore, your junior year. Start having those conversations, start communicating with coaches of I'm going to be at this tournament or I'm going to be at this clinic to get them to see you so they can see if your style of play is a match for their style of play. Ask the tough questions of the coaches of like, where do you see me on your team? How many people do you have at this position? It is all right to ask those questions because I was a goalkeeper for soccer and there's only one goalkeeper on the field at a time. So have those conversations of how many people are ahead of me. Because being a college athlete is a ton of fun. It is a lot of work. So make sure you go somewhere where you're going to have balance or have the support that you need as a student athlete to be successful because it is a big demand on your time. But I think, really take a look just like you're looking at colleges of it's not necessarily the top ranking school that's going to be the best fit for you or thrive in with athletics. get out there, experience, train, control what you can control with athletics, of make sure you are doing the training off the field, make sure that you're being a good teammate, make sure when you're at these tournaments, because we're watching you even when you're not playing. How are you interacting with your coaches? How are you interacting with your teammates? So, reach out to coaches, talk to those mentors around you, and, see what level is the best fit for you, and then cast a wide net with programs, because just because you want a school doesn't mean there's going to be a place for you as a student athlete there. So you need to cast a good net, start early, and have honest conversations with the people that are around you mentoring you, but also honest conversations with those coaches that you're communicating with.
That was wonderful. Thank you, Sue. I think you wrapped that up very beautifully. I'll turn it over to Christina, unless someone else wanted to jump in.
Marsha. So my next question has to do more specifically with the application itself. And is it ever appropriate to use AI on any part of the application? For example, to refine the essay or, help make the list of activities come together better.
I'll start on this, and I feel like we could go fairly deep on this, where I don't want to make this any more confusing than it needs to be. Is it appropriate? There's scenarios, I think, that you can use tools like AI to help, with spell check or making sure grammar is right, which frankly, you probably don't need AI to do that, but still, yes, you can use a tool like that to help with piece of writing. The reason why I'm giving a very hesitant answer is not because I think AI is the end of the world or it's a bad thing or colleges hate it. The college application is a highly personal thing. It's you telling us who you are. And we are just simply trying to get through that as quickly as possible in a good way. Like, we want to make sure everything adds up. We read your essay, we understand how you think, how you communicate, how you write. And it's important that you're not using some outside voice. And AI could also expand beyond that to like a parent's voice or an essay coach's voice or a best friend's voice. Those are all factors that could derail the essay from being your essay. The important part is we're really just trying to understand you. When it gets to like the extracurricular list and the things that you're doing, these are very straightforward things. These are not resumes. These are just simply saying what you're doing, what's your involvement like, what is that thing? But there's probably not a reason why you need to optimize that. There's really not much room for optimization. So I don't think you'll need AI for your college application. Now, AI can be used later for other things and other aspects. There's some great tools, but this type of writing and this type of communication, it should be straightforward enough that it's just really you putting your voice out there.
Thank you. Did any other panelists want to add to that, or? Okay, I think that was a wonderful response. Thank you. I think some of you mentioned a little bit about your standardized test policy. Could you let us know if you require SATs or ACTs, and how important the standardized tests are in your decision-making process?
So I'll be happy to start. We are test optional, as I mentioned earlier, with the exception of our, we call it our PMM, our pre-medical medical program. Other than that, we are completely test optional. However, a good test score, will be factored in if you ask us to factor it in, and it certainly could help your application. And on the other hand, if you have a really low score, we right now, if you ask us to consider your scores, we will. So believe me when I say we are truly test optional. So if your test scores are not strong, I would definitely not send them. That could change next year. You never know. But for right now, if you tell us to consider them, we will. So I would say we do publish our middle 50% ranges. You can look to see where you fall in the GPA range and where you fall in the test score range to get an idea. That being said, last year, 55% of our students did apply without their test scores. So the 45% that applied with test scores, those are the ranges that we have. So I would imagine they do skew a little bit high. But, if you're somebody who your grades are kind of so-so, but you really aced the test, I would absolutely submit it. On the other hand, if your grades are a much better reflection of your ability than your test score, I would absolutely not submit them. But believe it, an institution, when they say they're test optional, nobody's trying to trick you up. And we're certainly not giving any thought. If I don't see a test score, I'm not thinking, they must not have done. I'm not thinking about it at all. I'm really just considering what you asked me to consider.
Mine is simple. We've been, as my dean would say, we've been test optional since before it was cool. So we've been test optional for about 20 years. And truthfully, if you don't submit your test scores, that's perfectly all right. They are, not a crucial part of the review process. Sometimes it will help a student, especially one that maybe has stumbled at some point in high school, to show, that there is potential there in intelligence. But we also, like I said, are 100% test optional because we don't want students not applying because they don't fit a certain parameter, but we do list our middle 50% as well. So.
Syracuse, we are currently test optional, but we make that decision on a yearly basis. So for juniors and sophomores, that decision hasn't been made. And I know we're not the only institution that has a policy like that. So that's definitely something frustrating, I'm sure, to hear as you're trying to prepare, not knowing if those scores would be required or not. For us, like I said, we are test optional. Around 40% of our students last year submitted test scores who applied. And of those students who were admitted, around 45% of them had submitted. So we are truly optional, really reiterating what my colleague said. Like, if you think your score is representative of you, send it. If you don't, if you think it's going to be a hindrance, like, your best foot forward, is that score helping show that best foot? Um, and then I always say to students too, if your schools that you're interested in and you're waiting to hear about that test optional update, I know Syracuse, the moment that decision is made, we always email and update our website accordingly. So still add those schools to that list, sign up for that email list. And at the end of the day, if that's something that, you really don't love your test score, you don't want to submit, and a school's requiring it, you can always unsubscribe. We don't take it personally. Again, that best fit conversation for sure there.
And I'll go next quickly. We are test optional. It's a governor's level decision. So all the SUNYs are test optional. All the SUNYs have different middle 50% ranges, though, of their test scores. So pay attention to that, as mentioned earlier, for the optional choice of whether you want to send it or not. We do not optionally choose to review your scores, meaning if you send your scores and you say you want them used, we're going to use them. We can't then change that afterwards. So be very thoughtful about that process if you're going the test optional way with any of the SUNYs. Now, I guess we can go over to UPenn to round us out.
Yeah, I will be the odd one out here. We do require testing at Penn. We'll take an ACT or SAT. For the ACT, we do not require the science section. We will super score your test that you send to us. You are welcome to self-report your test score. You only have to submit official ones once you are planning to enroll. The other thing I'll say is if you haven't been able to sit for a test, please don't go flying across the country to do so. That is not our expectation. We have right on your application, you can simply say, I was unable to sit for a test, and that is that. The last point, we used to be test optional. Our mid-50ths, if you look them up, will reflect that. So do not let that impact your decision about whether or not to apply. That's going to go down over the next several years as we become more calibrated to requiring testing again.
Right. So can I just jump in to ask a clarifying question? Something that we assume is for testing optional schools, your published rates, your published middle 50% seems like it's gone up, and we think that's because only kids with the higher scores feel comfortable sending them in. So is that fair to say when students are looking at your published middle 50% to know that there's a little wiggle room in there?
I would say yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I would say yes. I'm not trying to be different here. I would say ours hasn't changed dramatically, but again, this is a public with a lot of students applying. The careful part is like you can ask colleges this, like middle 50%, but what's the tail on that? Right? Are how many, of the 25% below, what do their scores look like? Now I know we're getting into the weeds here a little bit, but that be careful when you look at that and say, well, if the middle 50% is a 1300, a 1200 is fine, right? That might be far beyond like where that tail at the bottom end of the 25%, where it would definitely not be helping. You could ask schools that we will be open with you.
Craig, can you just tell us what does middle 50% mean? What does that, just give an explanation of that?
Sure, yeah. So middle 50%, whether you're looking at test scores or usually high school GPAs that colleges will post, is the middle 50% of that incoming class of students. So what that means is like the average, so I'll use Binghamton's example, our average student had between a 93 and a 98 high school average. About 25% of the students had above a 98, and about 25% of the students were below a 93. Similarly, with test scores, you'll see that posted for SAT or ACT. So what we're trying to say is if you're in those ranges or very close to those ranges or above, when you're optional, probably doesn't hurt to submit those scores. We didn't hear you well, don't worry. I hope that helps a little bit.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. And then just following up, we sometimes get this question a lot from students if they don't know what they necessarily want to study or what they want to major in college. Can you guys maybe talk about how you guys would guide a student in that aspect?
Sure. So while we do admit by academic college, it is 100% fine to not know what you want to do. We actually have a designated program for students that are undecided. So you can apply directly into that and work with an advisor and spend some time exploring different interests. And then once you decide what you want to study, you can move into that. The only exception, or we do have a few direct entry programs. I know Stephanie was mentioning that as well. So if you want to be in one of our programs that it is direct entry, meaning you have to apply and as a first year student and be admitted directly into that program, then you wouldn't be able to change your mind. Just as an example, nursing is a direct entry program at Penn State, and we have a few others. But other than that, you can absolutely explore. You do not need to put the pressure on yourself as a 17-year-old to know exactly what you want to study or do what you want, know what you want to do with your life. Also, so many students do change their mind. Many students that come in with a major end up not in that major.
Since we're liberal arts, every single student comes in undecided. And the way that we are structured is it's a very one-on-one personalized advising process that students go through. So they're going to speak with their advisor in June before they even start on campus to really get a feel for what the student enjoys doing, their strengths and challenges as a student, how they learn best. And they're going to advise them about certain courses they might want to take. They're going to advise them about faculty members that might be a better match for their learning style. But it's also coupled with mentorship of other centers on campus, like career services, like a civic engagement office, to help you really understand, okay, intellectually, this is what really piques my curiosity, but also how can I utilize this in a professional setting. So I think that we really focus on mentorship from the faculty level, from the staff level, to give you the guidance and encourage you to explore different subject areas, but allow you also to dive deeply into a subject area if this is what you want to do right when you get on campus. So it's okay to be undecided, as I think many of us, not all of us on the panel, because you might have to apply into a specific major, but with us, undecided is 100% natural, and we are focused on helping you grow and develop and understand what you want to major, minor, and what you can do with it through that mentorship and advising structure.
Great, thank you. I know it would be very difficult for one of our Mamaroneck students to try commuting to one of our, universities on the panels, but can you guys maybe discuss between like what it would be like living on campus versus commuting, first commuting?
Yeah, I will start with this. In maybe a little bit bigger picture here, we see a lot of students at Binghamton, which is very much a residential campus. We have a lot of students who actually transfer in a year or two later, and a lot of those transfer students were once commuting students. So maybe they lived in the Mamaroneck area or in the New York City area and enrolled locally at a CUNY or SUNY. And there are a number of schools nearby, right? There's a SUNY not too far away from you all. So there's a difference in the lifestyle. Often you have the huge financial benefit of that. As you heard earlier, though, there could be ways that even going to a campus might not actually cost you a whole lot, but there is usually a direct financial benefit from commuting. There is a comfort level, and there's maybe a responsibility level that we are totally. I want students to feel empowered to say, I have things I need to take care of as I transition out of high school that commuting to college, maybe at least initially, makes more sense. Just know that there is maybe a future residential option if you're thinking about that. Generally speaking, in a residential setting, you're committed to that now new lifestyle. So yes, you're going to be a student learning in the classroom, but a majority of your time is actually spent with other students, maybe doing academic things or maybe just doing also social things, as Sue was getting at earlier with athletics, outside the classroom. You have a whole lot more time now that you're growing as an individual. So just for clarity, that means like you are now really much, starting a new clean slate, new place, doing things now based on this new college lifestyle. That's what you'll see often in a residential setting. There is, I would say, a tipping point that students go through. If you're sitting there as a high school senior and you feel like you are envisioning like your Wednesday night on a college campus and you keep getting excited by, or your Sunday evening spent on, in the dorm rooms, that's telling you something that you're ready and willing and want that residential setting. But if you're often thinking about, well, this is not possible, I'd rather just kind of go back and forth to do my classes and go home. I'm used to home. I need to be home in the Mamaroneck area. That's telling you maybe lean towards the commuting options, at least initially.
Sorry,
Nope, sorry. Go ahead, Lori. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so at Penn State, for all first-year students at the main campus are required to live on campus. And two of our other campuses also do require and guarantee housing for first-year students. After that, students have the option of staying on campus or moving off campus.
All right, I'm going to jump in. I have a question. Sue and Lori, I'm going to kind of put you on the spot, but I don't think it's a difficult question for answer. One of the things I think we find ourselves having conversations with kids and families with is the difference between, or fears that might come with a small liberal arts college like Hobart and William Smith versus a large public institution like Penn State. So to Sue, can you talk about, the fear of a student who comes and says, I don't want to go to a small school. So kind of like, how do you give experiences to make a small school feel a little bit bigger, or to kind of expand those horizons? And then Lori, to you, how do you shrink your school for freshmen coming in to make it a little bit more accessible?
All right, all right. So we always say that we're a small school with big school opportunities. So for example, I think Mamaroneck, the school population is actually larger than our population. And you're so worried, oh my gosh, this college is smaller than my high school. Well, here's the thing. At high school, you're on maybe 10 acres. Okay. In college, we have 1,900 students, but we're on 190 acres. So it's much more spread out. So I think at a smaller school, you're at times going to have the opportunity to, do research, have internships, lead a club, be in certain classes at an earlier stage in your college career. Not all the time, but at an earlier stage, because you're a bigger fish in a smaller pond. Okay. And at the same time, I think with a smaller school, when you're going through this college process, I think you need to take a look and say, what kind of learning environment do I need to be successful? Some students are going to be really successful in a larger learning environment than a school like Penn State. And I love Penn State. My dad was born and raised there, so I love that school. But, there's a lot of students that wouldn't be able to find as much success in a large lecture hall. Whereas at a small school, you're going to get to know your faculty. You're probably not going to be taught by anyone but a faculty member. You're going to form those relationships. There's going to be smaller class sizes. Like Stephanie at Syracuse was saying, like the class sizes are small. So I think that you need to take a look at what you need to be successful academically, and a smaller school might be the better option for you. Because because it's a smaller school doesn't mean it's going to feel cramped. Everybody's going to be up in everybody's business like it's a high school. A college experience is very different than a high school experience. Okay. So I actually had a friend who went to Penn State and loved her experience there that said, when I was going through the college process and trying to figure out if I wanted a large school or a small school, and I actually ended up going to Hobart and William Smith, she said, whether it's Penn State or Hobart and William Smith, you're going to have the same number of friends. Okay. So, I think it's, what do you need to be successful first and foremost as a human being? And secondly, what do you need to be successful in the classroom? And speak with students that are there, because a lot of them are probably asking themselves the same question. But that's my answer. Lori, over to you, my friend.
Thank you very much, Sue. So, really, there's no right or wrong here either. For some students, a small school is just going to be a better fit. And for some students, a medium school is going to be the best fit. And for other students, they will thrive in a very large school population. So I think, visiting different schools, they don't have to be the specific school, but visiting a large school, visiting a small school, getting a sense of that. That being said, you are going to be forming smaller communities within that larger community. So you are not going to be friends with all 47,000 students that are at University Park, Penn State University Park. However, you are going to be in a residential hall, and you're going to have a circle of friends in your residential hall, and you're going to be in a major, and you're going to have a circle of friends that are in your academic college and in your major. And then you're going to get involved in different student clubs and organizations. And so those are going to be other communities that you get involved with. I think the thing about Penn State, there are so many things that really bond the very large community, not only, football and school spirit things. We have our dance marathon, which is a huge deal that literally everybody gets involved with. So there are definitely ways to make a large university feel smaller. But again, it's a very personal thing, and there's more than one school that you can thrive at. So you should never have your heart set on being only at one school, because there are many phenomenal schools out there that you could be equally successful at. And as far as the size of the school, you can make your community in whatever size school that you're in.
Thank you very much. Perfect. All right. Let me see. I think I really appreciate all your guys' candor. I have a lot of questions, but I will spare them. Can you maybe just, we'll keep it fairly basic, speak to a little bit about the essays, and I know, Laura, you spoke about Penn State and where you guys stand at this point, but for others, what do you look for in an essay if you're giving advice to students worried, what do I need to write about? What's the special thing I need to do? Can you give some advice to students starting out? What do you look for in an essay? What makes a strong essay for you?
Happy to go first, especially because I feel like we're all starting to look at those right now. And I can tell you that based off of what I've seen so far, just kind of reiterates there's no perfect topic. There's no one story we want to hear. We just want to learn more about you, what's important to you. It doesn't have to be about anything related to the program you want to study, what you want to do in the future, any specific instance from high school, just something that shares a little bit more about who you are as an individual. I think we've all said in our own way that we really look to see the student, how you're going to be a part of our community, what you're going to bring to our campus. Part of that is learning about who you are. That essay is one of the few pieces of your application where you really get true freedom to share that story of who you are and what we're looking for. So when you're preparing for your application, thinking about those different stories, something that's maybe happened in your childhood, like things are happening now, something that's really important to you that you think you could easily write a couple hundred words about, because 9 times out of 10, that's going to be the best essay that you're going to be able to share with the admissions committee.
I'll talk a little bit
Thank you.
about supplemental essays for you. So if a school has some short answer questions that they are asking, take a moment to read them. They can be a really good indicator of what's important to that school. So in the case of Penn, we asked 3 short answers, and they're short. They're a fraction of that college essay that Stephanie was just talking about. We ask you how you're going to make a community here at Penn. Clearly, community is important as part of the college experience. We've all talked at length about it. We ask you a question specific to the program that you're applying to. Which my advice there? I work for Penn. Lori works for Penn State. They're 2 different institutions. So make sure that your short answer is specific to the school that you are applying to. And then the third one in the case of Penn is a gratitude prompt to write a thank you note to someone you've not yet thanked and would like to. That ties into positive psychology, something Penn is really known for. And we value creating like those happy moments, expressing gratitude, saying thank you. So that's kind of where our 3 short answers come from. I don't know if anyone else wants to elaborate or offer what their short answers are.
I just want to say, while we don't require the essay anymore, there are programs, or certainly our honors college does. I do read those essays. They have specific prompts. So while you do want to talk about, your story, you also want to make sure you're answering the prompt. So just be careful with that.
I think the important thing with the essays is understanding the why you've chosen to do something, why an event or person has impacted your life. I would caution people when you're writing about an event that's really impacted you, or experience, or a person that's really impacted you. I always say use the 2/3, 1/3 approach. 1/3 about that person or experience or event, and then 2/3 about how it impacted you then, how it's impacting you now, and then how you foresee it potentially, impacting you and what you want to do moving forward. So, but I think all of us want to really read about authenticity in essays. There isn't, as we've said, a perfect essay. I would say many of them are average, but average can still be a really important essay as long as they tell us something about you and help us connect the dots to various things that we'll see on your application.
Thank you.
All right. There was one more question in the chat. When do you choose your major? And it's probably very similar across the schools. I would say middle of the second year in college. If anybody has a different answer, maybe jump in.
For us, it depends, and I will clarify the thank you note thing too. For us, it depends. Engineering, we ask you immediately what you want. You apply to one of 4 schools at Penn, backing that up. You pick one of 4 schools. For engineering, we ask you what your major is going to be, because we want to help you get in those correct courses your first semester, freshman year, but you're not tied to it till the end of your first year on campus. Nursing is a direct admit program. You're going to be a nurse from day one. Our College of Arts and Sciences, you pick by the end of your sophomore year, and our Wharton School Business has no majors. It just has concentrations, which are a couple of classes each. And I can post a link about that too, because I know it's confusing.
Awesome. Okay, great. Go ahead.
Sorry. So for Syracuse, we do direct admit to every program. So we have 10 different schools and colleges. You can apply undecided to 7 of them, and then you have until the end of your sophomore year to declare. But when you are admitted, generally you're admitted directly to your major, in that offer of admission.
Okay, great. All right, so I think we're going to wrap up and let people get back to their evenings tonight, get rested up for another day tomorrow. But before we go, I really want to thank everyone for being here tonight. And although we had a glitch at the beginning, I'm pretty amazed how quickly, as a huge group, we recovered. Thank you so much, Craig Broccoli, for coming to our rescue quickly and calmly. And thank you, everybody, for following us to the new link. I want to ask the representatives from the different colleges if they have one takeaway that they're hoping that our juniors and sophomores will take from this program tonight.
I'll go first, I guess. I'd say, if you have a dream career or dream job in mind, go and ask people in those jobs and careers and see what they majored in college. And the whole point is that there's so many different paths to the same outcome. So embrace the journey, because there's a lot of really fun discoveries and surprises along the way.
Thank you.
I'd say enjoy being in high school because it's really tempting to live your life these 4 years for someone who works in an office that you will never see, even as a student on my campus if you came here. But live your life for you, enjoy being you, because that's who's really at the center of this process. It is you as the human being. So please enjoy being a student and trust that it'll all work out.
Awesome. Thank you.
I would say try to enjoy this process, as stressful as it is. I promise you it's going to work out. Again, there are so many great schools out there. I do encourage you, kind of as Sue had said, to, not only see the different pathways to the same careers, but just really explore all of our websites and all of the programs that we offer, because you only know what you know. And we do tend to get a lot of students that are applying to the exact same thing simply because that's what they've heard of. And there's a whole world of things out there that you have not yet been exposed to. And you can read descriptions and see career paths and see different classes you would take in different majors. So take some time and explore that and just really try to enjoy this time.
Awesome.
Yeah, kind of following Lori. Have fun. It's an exciting process for everyone, I think, involved. It gets really stressful at times, but at the end of the day, like when you're looking at that future college, that's the place that you're going to spend 4 years where you're really coming into your own, sometimes for the first time away from home. So have fun, enjoy that process, and keep an open mind. I know when I was in your shoes, the list I started off with, the school that I ended up attending wasn't even on it in the first place. So keep open. If folks are suggesting a school or a school comes up, just spend those 5 minutes looking at that website, taking a peek. You never know what you're gonna end up loving. And it goes all back into that fit. Are you gonna fit in those places that you might not expect?
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, and just rounding off on that same notion, this is as much as we think college admissions is about being admitted to college, it's a much bigger picture. It's about going to an institution, 2 or 4 year, wherever it ends up being, that you are going to thrive at. Once you take the pressure off this whole idea of how many or what schools can you get admitted to, and thinking along the lines of like, which school are you most excited about spending time at, the type of students, think about yourselves as 10th and 11th graders. What are you really getting interested in at this stage? How can you mirror that at the next level? Think about those things. It makes admissions a lot easier and less sort of ups and downs based on where will you or where won't you get in. It's not about that in the long run. And as you can probably tell, all of us, the admissions people, we are much more interested in getting students that are going to spend their full 4 years at our campuses. So we want to help you get to the right spot. And we will at any point try to chime in and give you that advice. So don't worry about that. You got a lot of people to support you. So you're good.
Awesome. I want to thank everybody again and also
Kathy,
wish
can I
you a
add something
happy.
really quick,
Oh,
if
I'm
I
so
may?
sorry.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
The last piece of advice I would say is listen to your school counselors. You
Ah,
are so fortunate. I don't think any of us have said that enough, so I just wanted to jump in and say that. You are so fortunate to have a wonderful counseling team at Mamaroneck. They are truly experts in what they do. So if you start reading something online in a lot of different forums, take a deep breath, go talk to your school counselor, and when they tell you something, believe them. No one is trying to like lie or obfuscate. Your school counselors are your best resource, and try your best to tune out all of the external experts out there. Your counselors, us as admissions professionals, we're here to answer you straight from the source. So I just had to jump in and get that in there real
no,
quick.
thank you. I really appreciate that. That's lovely to hear. I want to wish everybody a great holiday season. I hope you get some break time. And students, when you're at the dinner table and your uncles or aunts or grandparents are asking you what you're going to do with your life, I urge you to turn it around and say, tell me how you got to where you ended up. Ask them what they were looking for in a college. Did they make the right decision? Takes you off the hook, and you get to learn a lot about people that you may really admire and want to be like. Happy holidays. Thank you again, everyone, and get some rest. Tomorrow's another day.